What's up, YouTube? I'm Brett, and always with me, my co-host Lance. Say hi, Lance.
I guess.
As always, guys, if y'all enjoy our content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Alright, so Walker Episode 2 review. Lance, what did you think of it?
I personally enjoy it. I enjoyed the pilot episode. I enjoyed this episode just as much. I know that there are a lot of people that are probably the complete opposite.
Probably me.
Yeah, I'm sure. I know you, but I think there are a lot more out there than what we realize that aren't enjoying this. Where I'm really enjoying it, and yeah, part of mine is just because I love Jared Padalecki so much. But
that's me. That is me entirely. I keep giving the show a benefit of the doubt, simply because I love Jared Padalecki. Hands down, I loved him as Sam Winchester. I love him as Walker. I think he does it. I think he does a great job. I think he's just a great. I think.
Well,
he's
and it's like what we said in previous videos before the show actually started, when we were just talking about it, was I felt like he would play that part really well because he kind of fits that role.
I love this version of Walker better than I loved the Chuck Norris version.
Well, yeah, when I was a kid, I was really big into the Walker Texas Ranger with Chuck Norris, but it didn't have any substance, as we get older. Like when we mature, you're like, okay, none of this adds up. Like, why does he throw his gun down to karate kick somebody?
It was perfect in the early 2000s.
Now this is, to me, this is a more like mid 90s. It was I think like 96 or something. But this is a more realistic Walker, and so I really I think that's one of the reasons I'm so big into the show already.
I enjoy Jared Padalecki's Walker a million times more than I enjoyed Chuck Norris. And it's nothing against Chuck Norris. I just feel like Jared Padalecki is a more realistic Walker.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The show in general is more realistic.
He just looks the part. Like he, of course he is a native Texan. And, he just looks the part of Walker. Like, he just looks it.
Yeah.
He even makes a comment in this. He's he says, I'm a Texas Ranger and I'm also a cowboy. And I feel that way.
Yeah, that's what it was said. She was like, well, you haven't passed your certification. And he's like, I can find a horse. I'm still a I might not be a Texas Ranger right now, but I'm still a cowboy. I actually believed him.
Yeah, I did too. And now, okay, when it comes to at the beginning of this episode, when they're on that case, I had a huge problem with with his boss. What is his boss name? Captain Larry James. I had a huge problem with his boss because he had, of course, there was episode 1 where he was on that case, and then episode 2 he's like, oh, I didn't call you because your certification was up. Well, why didn't you tell him that in episode 1?
Yeah, I don't know if he just got an email saying that Walker needed to redo all his certifications or what, and so he was like, oh, I can't have you work this case because your certification just ended. I need you to get recertified.
See, I didn't know if it was that or what the deal was. I didn't...
Well, it can't just be like, oh, this is standard for when you come off of undercover, because he came off of undercover and worked the case already.
And I kind of feel like, and this is something, and this is kind of a conversation you and I kind of had, off camera about one thing, and that was, I kind of feel like his boss kind of makes the Texas Rangers appear as worse, and to me that are not a very good organization. But to me, I feel like it reflects on Walker a little bit too much because he's a seasoned Ranger, and I don't personally. I didn't like. I was. I feel like he kind of saying about Walker. Then
I feel like he should have clarified, hey, the people who ran this office before I did, really did things wrong, and so I'm trying to make changes and do things the right way.
Yeah.
So I need you to kind of toe the line, and that would have made more sense to me. And now so I get what you're saying, and I get how that could reflect on Walker. But let's be fair. They've mentioned it several times that they've always kind of let Walker play it a little loose when it comes to the rules.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's something he's like, hey, you're not going to do that and make me look bad.
Well, there's no doubt, and they even admitted to it. I was reading an article last night where that they were talking about how of course the protests and all of that changed. They changed a lot on this show because to reflect that that was going on in real life, and you can see it. And I feel like sometimes it's a little bit too in your face, and it really messes with the writing of it to a certain extent.
See,
I feel like they could add. I feel like they could put it in there if they wanted to, but I just feel like it messes with the writing of it too much.
I guess with me, I just watch so many cop shows that it's already this way because of things like that. So I don't really catch it like you do because I've seen it.
I worry about it from like the writing standpoint. I worry about if they're going to put it in it, fine. But what I have a problem with is I feel like it's kind of like shoved in there, and it really doesn't add context to what is happening on screen or to the dialogue taking place. It's like that conversation you and I was talking about when her boyfriend, when Mickey's talking to her boyfriend, he's talking about moving in, and she's like, well, I'm the first Mexican American Texas Ranger, and I'm like, well, what does that have to do with him moving
or first woman? Yeah.
Yeah, and that didn't make any sense to me.
I thought that was kind of placed randomly. I feel like that could have been, if you wanted to address the fact that she is the first woman of color in the Texas Rangers, maybe you should place that in an appropriate situation, not talking about him moving in.
Yeah.
But now I can understand what she was going with, though. I think she was trying to say, I got a lot going on that I'm trying to focus on. I don't know if you moving in would be the right time for you to do that because I don't want to be distracted from this.
See, I didn't like even her tone towards her boyfriend with that. Because she kind of was like making it like I thought.
I didn't like the way she talked to her. I didn't like the way she talked to her boyfriend in the pilot episode.
Yeah, I didn't either. Because
he was talking to Walker, and she's like, "He's in trouble. Don't conversate with him." Like, who the hell are you? Like, how are you trying to make this shit appear that you are somehow Walker's superior?
That was the problem that I had with episode
you're a rookie and he's a veteran. Like, come on.
Like, see, from the very beginning of episode 1, that was my biggest problem with Mickey, and I got off on the wrong foot with her.
I don't like that character
because she started off bad. Don't make me look bad, and I'm like, you're a rookie. Like, I mean, he's like,
you do that by yourself, like.
Yeah, I know. Like, yeah, you're doing a pretty good job yourself. So, I mean, I just kind of felt like they're trying...
And I didn't like how, like, Walker was trying to... They were sitting down eating lunch, and Walker was trying to basically congratulate... This was in the pilot episode, but I didn't do that video with you, so... But in the pilot episode, they're sitting down eating, and Walker like, oh, like... we should have celebrated, your promotion last night. And she was like, I think you celebrated enough for both of us. Like, you're already looking down on him because he was drunk. Like, it ain't like he was driving around town drunk. He was supposed to pass out in the bed of his truck.
I kind of feel like, when it comes to her, and I even kind of feel towards his boss to a certain extent. They're trying to make his boss sound like a friend, but at the same time, he just comes off. I don't
that's
like
one
his
of those,
character particularly.
Well, see, that's one of those things. Like, I'm up in the air with that one because that's one of those things. Like, all right, we're friends, but this isn't personal. This is business right here. Like, I have to kind of be like.
Yeah, I get that, but it almost kind of makes it the way they kind of make it come off is like it is personal, and it's just like. Because I try to think about it in that way too. Because I'm like, okay, at the end of the day, he's not wanting to reflect on other Texas Rangers or
or
other things. So I
himself.
get that, or
Or
himself.
himself. He can't like this
But
is his first job as a new captain, and I'm not
yeah,
gonna let you screw this up for me.
but I
Like,
kind of almost feel like their word, like it's like the wording that they have in the show could be uh, turned around a little bit where it makes some of these sentences that they're saying not sound so harsh.
or
It's
smug.
like they could lessen the wording more in a conversational tone than a harsher
But that goes
tone
all the
in
way
a real
around.
show.
Even with Walker, even Walker says some things at times, and I'm like, "You're a douchebag."
Yeah, well, there's
Like,
a lot of things that look. I enjoy Jared Padalecki's Walker, but there is a lot of things. Him leaving for 11 months and not talking to his daughter or contacting
okay,
her. I get it, he's
okay.
undercover, but
Now that's the thing. Okay, when you were undercover, a simple phone call home
could
can
mess up everything.
could get you killed or get your kids killed.
Do you ever get the feeling that his kids don't understand what he does for a living?
No, I
Because
get the feeling that his kids can no way understand the weight that is on his shoulders all the way around because he's still trying to be a Texas Ranger. His wife just died.
hmm
He's trying to be a parent, but he really don't know how because they make it seem like she handled all the parenting
yeah, and
because he was working all the time. And
but is
it's
it
just they cannot grasp what he's dealing with at this very point in time. Like,
but do you feel like it's like both of us, you and I, both have young children. I kind of feel like my son would understand that job more than what these teenage kids understand that job. Like my son understands right now. Hey, you're a cop. You're undercover. You got things to do. He even understands it with my work. He's like, you got work to do. I'll leave you alone. Like he's 4, and I feel like these kids are teenagers and they just
yeah,
act
but
oblivious
he
to it.
look. My personal opinion on that is that our sons are 4 and 5,
Mm-hmm.
and they understand that. They understand that okay, daddy's got to work, so
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't need to mess with it.
yeah.
But they don't. They would they understand that for 11 straight months? Probably not.
No, probably not for 11 straight months, but I would hope that by the time they get to be a teenager and they realize, hey, daddy's undercover,
Yes,
that
yes, I
maybe they
understand.
would
I
take that
understand
into
that.
consideration. Of
But
course,
you got to
teenagers are a tricky
you also
business
got to
too.
understand too that these
Yeah,
are still teenage kids that just lost their mother and now they feel like they
yeah.
lost their father at the exact
And
same
I
time.
understand his girl when she does bring that up to him. His girl, I have a huge problem with his daughter on this show. Like, I don't enjoy her character at all, but
See,
I
I go
do
back and forth
understand where
with
she's
her.
coming from. Stella, I think is her
I
name.
go back and forth with her. It's his August. I
Mm-hmm.
don't understand his character because he's like hardly ever around.
Mm-hmm.
Like you hardly ever see anything to do with him. So
Like he just shows up in the background and stares at him, and then Walker has to have a conversation with him. Like that's all he does. Okay, speaking of the children, let me just get this, and I know this is something that was on both of our minds. Um, the
his
thing
family and
about
friends, period. Like
yeah, the thing about the friend, closing the eyes on his wife, like he had
and
the
not
two
telling him
things.
that, not telling him that, like he's
Yeah,
been obsessing about little details in this case for 11 months, and
yeah,
you could have told him 11 months ago that you did that part, and maybe that would have took some away. Just like
yeah,
when his son told him, "Oh, this is why she had the poker chip because she was showing people what she got you for
yeah.
Father's Day."
I
Okay, that right there, it seemed like when his son told him that, it seemed like a big weight got lifted off of Walker.
yeah.
And I'm like, you could have done this 11 months ago.
Yeah, he had been carrying that poker chip around for 11 months trying to figure out where it was, and all he had to do was ask his son. Like, I mean, I just feel like that's like, why is no one communicating these
Is
things
that
to
is
him?
that is that a bad like family kept secret, or
I don't know. I
is that bad police work? Like, come on.
Yeah, I see it. That's actually a good question. Is it bad police work or is it a really bad home life? Like, I almost kind of feel
Because
like
look,
it's a little
look,
of
man.
both at that point.
So you tell me that your wife had bought you this poker set. The poker chip you found on her belonged to that set.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't find that set throughout this whole time. Like you didn't like search your house when your wife died, looking for any kind of
Yeah,
reasonings
any
that this
kind of
would have
clue
happened.
or anything.
Yeah, so in my personal opinion, I kind of feel like that's bad police work at that point.
I feel like it is, but I just kind of feel like I'm like,
But I do feel like
especially on the
his
more
family are complete douchebags to him in ways because
yeah, even the coffee
like
mug. Like,
yeah, she hid the coffee mug, and clearly she heard him ask for it several times throughout that
I
episode
know.
before
Well,
she bought.
even the mother didn't even say anything about it. You can't tell me she didn't know what went on in her own kitchen. Like I kind of was
Well,
like,
no, that
these
was the
people are
kitchen at Walker's house.
no at Walker's house.
That's where the mug was.
Oh, was it? See, I thought
Yeah.
it was at her house.
No, that was at his house. They had come over there for breakfast. His
Oh, okay,
parents
all
did.
right, I get it. I
Yeah,
get it.
because that was when Walker was like so hell bent on no, we're gonna live at this house.
Yeah. And see, to a certain extent, I mean, as a adult, I get it. That's a mortgage, and he's like, I
I
don't want to
see.
pay for it. But then at the same time, I'm
I'm
kind of,
backwards on that. I'm like, okay, I could not live in a house where my wife died. Like or
but
that
she
my
didn't technically die at the
I know she didn't
house.
die in that house, but they lived together in that house. Every time you
Yeah,
walk into a room, you're going to see her. It's a constant reminder of
yeah.
what has happened. And I would not personally want to live there, so I would just I don't know sell the house. Or I don't know,
I
rent
probably
the
actually
house
would too.
out. You're in Austin. You can't tell me you can't rent that house out for a good price of money and keep paying your mortgage.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean,
So
actually,
I
you'd
mean,
probably do a lot better off doing that.
yeah. So I mean, there's ways to not be there and
Yeah,
still keep the house, or there's ways to be there and not have to pay that mortgage.
yeah,
Like I mean, you don't have to
yeah.
live in that house.
There's
And it wasn't even that. That wasn't even his reasoning. His reasoning was so stupid to me. Like I don't want to leave this house because we put your handprints in this block of cement that I can pull up and take with us.
Yeah, that actually made no sense to me either. I'm like, it seems like he's not for a Texas Ranger. He don't put two and two together very well.
I
Like, I
mean, he
mean,
was
first you
like,
have the
because then he was
casino
like,
trip, and then you have the thing with his wife's eyes closed, and then you don't have
well,
the
the crap with the wife's eyes closed is her friend not telling him she
yeah.
did it, and I don't trust that woman.
I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this right off the bat. I actually believe that woman is behind his wife's murder.
I
I
think she
truly
has something to do with it. I think maybe she was working with the cartel or
mm-hmm.
something, and his wife stumbled up on it, so they killed her. Like,
and this is going to be something that probably a lot of people that's not from Texas probably aren't going to understand this. And and I know you and I, we've talked about this before, but they make Austin sound like it's right on the border.
yeah,
Austin is
that's
767 miles
I'm
from the
wondering.
Mexican border.
I'm wondering if they're gonna answer that kind of in a way. Explain. Were they going down there and getting a hotel and just staying down there and taking food and water? I mean, what was the game plan here? And why, as a Texas Ranger, you knowing how dangerous it is on the border, would you allow your wife to go alone?
Knowing you could even, at best, you could lose your job.
Best case scenario,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's best
I mean, you
case
know
scenario.
how dangerous it is on the border. You would not let her go alone.
There is no way living in Texas would I. If my wife was like, you know what, I'm gonna go leave some water and food for people crossing the border. Would I be like, you're going there by yourself at night in the
There's
desert?
no way. There's
I
no
mean,
way. I'd be
no,
like,
I
okay,
would be
you go
pissed
do
about
that
it.
while I go to family game night. I'd be like, no, we're gonna go do this.
Can you imagine? I mean, do you think your wife would allow you to do that? Like, if you were the one that did it, she'd be like,
my
"You're
wife would
crazy.
allow
You would
me.
not. She would never allow you to do that."
My wife would allow me. She wouldn't care.
She'd be like, "Let the
She
cartel
knows
have you."
I can. She knows I can handle
Yeah,
myself.
but I mean,
But
at the end of the day, I just kind
but
of feel
as a man, you're not gonna let your wife do it by herself.
no, you're not going to.
Your job
And
is to protect
yeah,
her.
but especially being a Texas Ranger, knowing
Yes,
the
yes,
dangers of things.
absolutely.
But I
So
feel
don't
like
get
in
me
this
wrong.
show
Don't
they
get me
have
wrong.
done this.
I personally love the show,
Yeah.
but don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna sit here and be blind and act like there's not plot holes.
Well, I kind of
Everything,
feel.
every show has plot
I
holes,
kind of. I
and
kind of.
I feel like they kind of rushed into it because
The thing with Austin kind of irks me, simply because it's almost like the showrunners aren't really quite sure what Austin is or where it's located.
or it could, you know what, and it could be we don't know how they're going to tie it all in. Like,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if they would make it a little bit better, but it seems like they think that just right outside of Austin that there is desert or something. How are you going to leave? How are you leaving food and water down there in the desert? How would they find it? How would anyone find it? What are the chances of somebody coming across it in the desert? That makes no sense
no, they
either.
probably have pinpointed places where they know they be crossing over at, and so they just leave it there.
But I almost kind of feel like if a Texas Ranger has knowledge of that, that is like he's really
Well,
bad at his job.
my thing is, why did he think that? I don't know. She wouldn't get, even if she didn't get killed by the cartel. He didn't think that the border patrol might kill her.
Yeah, I know. Like there is so many things that could happen in that situation.
Your
You're
wife
out
is
there at
dark
night.
complected and dark haired,
Yeah, yeah,
and you
you're
want her
out.
running around the border.
Yeah, you're out there at night, and you're driving in this truck. They don't know what's going on. No one knows what's going on. You could, I mean, so many bad things could happen in that
And they did.
situation that it's just mind blowing to think
And it
that their
did.
reasoning
I
behind
feel
it
like
is
there could have
well,
been I feel like there could have been a better storyline to
yeah.
kill her off with, and have him still have all these questions than that. But
And releasing the horse in
I love the
a
show though.
park.
I can't.
Do what?
Okay,
That was so
that part
stupid.
was clearly just a jockey that doesn't know what he's doing. Like, how do you not know that? Like, I guess he knew it would get found, but because the guy wanted him to kill it and he couldn't go through with it, so he told the guy he killed it
Imagine
and
if
just let
you
it go in the city, and then they took off the.
imagine. I mean, there is so many places. You have all of Texas. You could have released it, and then your lazy butt goes and releases it in a park in the middle of Austin. That is about the dumbest place. If I was the guy that killed the other guy, or the other guy died because of me trying to get insurance money off that, I would have been so furious at knowing that jockey picked out of all the places in Texas, the wide open country, he goes and picks a park in Austin, in the middle of Austin, and releases it. That would piss me off so much if I was the guy trying to get away from that murder. Like, I would be like, what are you doing,
Yeah,
man?
yeah.
Like, that made no sense.
But
I mean, but
overall, I'm enjoying the show, and I can't wait until Thursday.
yeah. Well, let me just say this one little thing. I was a
I
huge
mean,
fan of Liam until the scene where I didn't understand where he was like, I'm going to take your. I was trying to get custody of your kids because you were undercover. That made no sense to me. Did that make any sense to you? That didn't make any sense to me.
I'm not a big Liam fan anyway. And this episode, like the first episode, I didn't have a problem with him. I just thought he was a waste of a character.
Yeah. See, I
This
enjoyed him
episode, I
episode one.
really didn't like him because of a few reasons. Like, he's sitting there waiting on Walker to show up for lunch. Walker doesn't show up. Liam's boyfriend shows up. He's like, "Oh, screw your brother," and he's like, "Hey, he's got a lot going on. Cut him some slack." And then, like 10 minutes later, he's like, "Why didn't you show up for lunch?" And he's like, "Oh, well, we can discuss it on the way to Stella's soccer game." And he's like, "She didn't show up to her game. We don't know where she's at." Like,
I kind
why
of,
didn't you start with that?
yeah, I kind of feel like, and I take more problems with this show as a husband and as a father than I do of anything, because I'm like, these people, like, you're telling me that his mom, his dad, and his brother was trying to take his kid away from him because he was undercover,
Yeah, I
and
don't know.
and then his brother goes so far to not come up to him, and he's pissed off more about lunch than he is about telling the father that
that
his
his
daughter
daughter's
was
missing.
missing. That
That's what I'm
just
saying.
blew my mind.
That's what I'm saying, and then the fact that I was trying to get custody of him while you're gone.
Yeah, and then he was like,
Uh,
"Well, that's like I have a reasonable reason. That is not reasonable. There's
yeah,
invisible."
I didn't understand that aspect of it. Maybe
I,
they're going to dive a little more into it.
yeah, because I mean, it's like I could give that example of someone on pipelining or someone offshore real rig.
Well, let's
All
say I
these
was in the
different reasons.
military.
Yeah, military. I mean, like there is so many parents that do not
Speaking
have.
of military, I do want to
Yeah,
see. I do want to see Mickey's boyfriend become a bigger part of the show. I like him
I would love to see him as
because
a bigger part of the
like
show.
he's supposedly gonna be around because he's like I'm not gonna re up.
You know what? See, I don't actually think that he's going to be around very much longer, and I'll tell you the reason why. Is because you remember when Walker's doing that recertification thing, and Mickey gives him that look, and I'm like, they're not even going to wait
Yeah,
till season two for
and
these two to
then
get together.
it was like, and then again when they were at the bar and Stella was missing, he was like, "Do you want to help me?
Yeah,
One
yeah,
more time tonight?" And she's like, "Yeah," and they go. But
yeah.
then he leaves her there to go find his brother, so that might have pissed her off. So I don't know.
Yeah, so I mean, I kind of feel like they're not even going to wait till the end of. They're not even going to wait till season two to get these two together.
I hope that's not what they're doing. See, I kind of
I
thought
hope
that they
not
were
either.
gonna. I kind of thought that they were gonna put Walker with his wife's friend,
Yeah.
but now I don't want that to happen either because I really think she's a bad guy.
I actually kind of think I think that they might start off putting it together, and then that's where he finds out more about it.
I would rather that
You
than him
know,
get with Mickey.
yeah, I don't want him with Mickey. I don't want him. I
And
want at least not
I
in
hope
season
that
one.
yeah, I hope that Mickey is can be a character that I can warm up to. I just haven't liked her in the first two episodes.
I haven't either. But overall, I mean, what would you rate this episode?
I would give it a 7.5.
What would you have rated the first one?
The first one was up there for me, man, like 9.5. I really enjoyed the pilot episode.
See, I would have said 7 with the first one. I would say 6 with the second episode. For me, there were just too many plot holes to
Well,
me
I'm big
and bad
into,
writing.
I really like the show, and I really like the mystery of it. And I like the fact that every episode so far, he's been on a different case. It's not like he's just
Yes,
getting
I actually
stuck
love
with
that part.
one bad guy. So I do rate it a little higher but I knew I would than you
I
because
kind of feel like since they haven't brought in a main villain of sorts, I kind of feel like it's already somebody that we know that has done something with his wife. That's the reason why I keep going back to his wife's friend.
I think that we're not really gonna have a main villain of this show until season 2, though.
You know, I would even, I kind of am a little bit suspicious about his boss too, to a certain extent, because his
I
boss
don't
was
think
like,
his
"Why are you
boss.
looking at that footage?"
I don't think his boss has anything to do with it. I think that's more. I need your head right. I don't
Yeah,
need
I
you
can see that too.
obsessing over this old case. We had a guy admit to doing it. Let's go. We need to move on. And I don't think he's saying you need to move on from your wife's death as much as you need to move on from obsessing over the case.
See, that part kind of actually kind of pissed me off to a certain extent too, because you're asking a man to move on from his dead wife's case. Like, I mean, even as a
Well,
boss, I kind of
to be
would be like,
fair,
that's kind of a touchy subject right there.
he should have never had anything to do with his wife's case. If that's not a conflict of interest, I don't know what is.
Yeah, definitely not undercover work. I mean, that
Yeah, I
was
mean,
bad choice in the first place. But yeah,
yeah.
overall, I mean, there is things that I love about this show. It's like I
So,
said,
are you looking forward to the next
I
episode,
am.
hoping it
I
gets
look.
better for you, or are
It's
you
like I
just kind
said
of
in
like,
the very first review. This show, I feel like it hasn't put it together yet, but I feel like it's got building blocks where it could make this into something a
I
lot
see.
better.
I really feel like this show has the potential to go a ways, like multiple seasons.
I see that too, actually, and I do mean that. I mean, I know I'm critical of a lot of things on it, but like I said, I do feel like it's got the building blocks to go the distance. It's just got to stop with the little things, like
Or
you
at
know,
least piece them
his
together,
wife
right?
going to the border,
That's
those
what I'm
kind of
saying.
things like that.
I'm saying it's either got to stop with that, or it's at least got to piece it together. You know?
Like let the showrunner have like Google Map Quest or something like that, like just something. Have Jared Padalecki, or even I even think the woman who plays Mickey, I think she's from Texas too. So I mean, get one of them to tell you where Austin is on the map exactly and how that exactly plays out. Because there's so many things about that. Like I have problems with those little things, and those little things to me make this show unenjoyable in that aspect. Yeah, in certain aspects, it's not unenjoyable altogether, but it's just in those things. It just kind of makes me wonder. I'm like,
She she
why are
was
they doing that?
she was actually born in Georgia, but she was raised in Texas.
Okay, all right. See, but see, and another thing, it bothered me that the boy didn't tell him about the
I
chip.
mean, you were raised in Texas, so you should know that
Yeah,
Austin
yeah.
is.
But I feel like the boy should have told him about the chip, and I feel like the woman should have told him. Her
I
friend
can't
should have told
remember
him
her
about the
name.
eyes, because that was something that has been troubling him for 12 months, and there was no reason to keep that a secret.
Almost a whole year now that
Yeah,
he's been obsessing over these things that y'all could have put him at
and
ease a
he's
long
been
time ago.
outwardly talking about it.
Yeah,
Like it wasn't like he was hiding it deep down. He was talking about it. They were seeing him with that chip, and no one was
yeah,
saying anything about it, and that just kind of pissed me off. Really pissed
yeah.
me
That
off.
one. So the poker chips all on his son, but
See, I don't even feel like it should have been the son that
well,
brought
honestly
it
though,
up. It
that's
should
kind of
have been.
like
I think it
it's
would have meant more if it would have been the friend that would have brought it up.
or his brother.
Yeah.
Because like the thing was, his brother was like, "You got that damn chip out again,"
Mm-hmm.
and you can't tell me he says she was carrying that chip around to show everybody what she had gotten him. So she had already showed this chip to people.
Yeah, I
Why didn't
know.
they? Why didn't they tell him?
I
So
know. Like,
I
why
get what you're
know
saying
it?
there. I get what you're saying there. I do kind of feel like in
I,
this episode, like I'd been saying that his dad was one of my favorite characters. He still kind of is, but then this episode kind of made his whole family look like douchebags because
yeah, it really did. I mean, taking his kid like he goes undercover, and they're like, "Oh, well, we've got to
we're gonna
take
take
your
your
kid."
children away.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like that just
but
really bothered me.
it
I
bothered
could
me too.
understand why he was so frustrated and
Yeah,
upset.
but
I
I
wouldn't
wouldn't
want
have just
anything
been
to
out
do with
there.
these
I wouldn't have
people.
just been out there wrestling with my brother. I'd have done knocked him
And then I didn't
out.
understand why he didn't bring it up to his dad afterwards either. Like I was like, that'd been something I would
That
have
might
definitely brought up with my parents.
that might be something that happens a little later. I'm
I
not sure.
I hope
I
that's a
kind of hope it
level.
does,
I hope it's a
but
level of confrontation later on. But I will
yeah.
say this: I almost kind of wish that this wasn't his parents and his wife's parents. It would
That
really make a lot more sense if it was
that's
that.
what I said. You know, it would have been better if it was his wife's parents
Mm-hmm.
that he had these conflicts with. Like they kind of blame him for letting her go down there and her
Yeah.
getting, that
Yep.
type of thing.
Yeah.
But overall, that's all I really have to say on it.
Yeah, I think it was a great episode. I'm really looking for. I mean, I won't say it's a great episode. I think it was a good episode. I feel like it's got the building blocks to be a
And
great series.
that's the thing too with a opening season is they gotta lay down their building.
Yeah,
They gotta put the
yeah,
foundation down before they can really build. So
definitely, definitely.
I give some leeway there, but
Yeah, yeah. But overall, I mean, I'm excited about it. I think it's going to. I think it has potential to be
I'm
something
really
great.
excited about it. But I've been really excited about it ever since I found out that they had cast Jared Padalecki to play
Jared
Walker.
Padalecki's awesome in this show. There's just no way around it.
That is the one thing I
He's
remember in
just
previous
awesome.
videos we had talked about worrying about seeing him as Walker and actually seeing Walker and not Sam Winchester. And I'm at the point I don't even think of Sam Winchester anymore.
I don't either. I mean, he
And
is a
that
lot better
speaks
actor than I thought he
that
was.
speaks volumes for him as an actor.
Yeah. I mean, and I hope maybe Jensen Ackles can be on the show with him
Oh,
someday.
they've already said that he's gonna. We just don't know when.
I say
Like
making partner.
I honestly think he might show up as a main villain later.
Can you imagine though if they made him a partner? That
If
would
they
be
met, see,
that'd
but
be like
then I
Supernatural
feel like
2.0.
I feel like that would be an issue though. Is
Oh, it
like
would be. It'd be a huge
like
issue,
I
but
would have
fans
to
would
watch.
love it.
You know, there would be some bloopers out there where Jensen Ackles like, "Damn it, Sammy!
I know.
Oops, oops."
But you know, fans would love it if that actually happened, though. Like,
Yeah, but I personally would enjoy it if they did use Jensen Ackles as a bad guy.
yeah,
Like,
I could see that. And you know, I wish he would have gone over there with it. Of course, I'm looking forward to Jensen Ackles and the boys. I just feel like Jensen Ackles isn't going to have a big role in the boys.
I'm back and forth with that on the boys, but we'll
Yeah,
see.
we'll
We'll
say
see.
that for another video. But as always, guys, if y'all enjoy our content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Let us know what y'all think of Walker episode 2. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. Y'all take care.